Is Etsy a good place for booksellers? And so we'll just go through a couple different points and see if Etsy is a good place for you. And this is in comparison to eBay. All right. This is in comparison to eBay. The platform overview 2024, 2025 data. eBay is obviously bigger. It has 132 million active viewers to Etsy's 90 million. Active sellers, 18 million to 7.5 million on Etsy. Total annual gross value or sales, as eBay did 73 billion in 2023. Etsy did 13.2 billion in 2023. So obviously that's like almost a triple difference. The top categories on eBay: electronic, collectibles, fashion, motors, auto. Then Etsy is handmade, vintage, craft supplies, which is why I'm doing the art books and such. Mobile app downloads, 500 plus million to Etsy's 120 million. International reach, 100 plus, 90 plus countries. And then Etsy's 234 countries, but smaller international buyer base. Search algorithm is Kasani, SEO heavy, auction bid, buy it now. And then for Etsy is contextual SEO, handmade, vintage. So, they're both SEO, they're both still search based, but eBay is in the middle of a search based algorithm and like a YouTube algorithm where it takes in personality of your store. How do you interact with your customers? What your listings are. Etsy is really more keyword based. It's not as refined or complex as some of these higher algorithms out there. And so one thing to note is the buyer to seller ratio on eBay and Etsy. I mean, Etsy has over 12 and a half buyers to a seller, while eBay has about 7 buyers to 1 seller. So there is a 5 buyer difference on the platform. There's 5 more buyers on Etsy than eBay, even if eBay is bigger. And so the pros to let's say the pros to eBay are large audience, global shipping. So these are the pros: like large audience, broader item categories, collectors, resellers, global shipping, excellent international logistics is actually really good. Lower listing fees, a free up to 250 items per month. I think that's the basic. I have the package, so it's like 1,000 for me. Algorithm strength, fast moving SEO for auctions, and custom branding. You allowed to do a lot. For Etsy pros, handmade vintage stuff, simpler for lightweight items, great for small curated shops. In Rare Books USA world, I guess my eBay store is more of a Amazon, Walmart type of ordeal. You can get a little bit of everything. Etsy is going to be art books and catalogs almost exclusively. And it's good. Etsy's good for evergreen content, artistic listings, and strong community feel, especially for crafts and vintage. So those are some of the differences right there. Fees, it costs 20 cents per listing on Etsy. Is 35 cents each on eBay after the first 250 listings. The final value fees is 10 to 15%. It's 15% for books. It's about 9% on Etsy all in. Subscription is based whatever model you have. And Etsy Plus is only $10 a month, which is optional. I don't use any promoted listings on eBay. I don't need to. I have ads. Well, since I have Etsy Plus, I get $5 in free ad spend on Etsy. So that's pretty much what I'm going to use for there. I don't see myself using more than that. And buyer intent, very price conscious, broad collectors and flippers. For Etsy, very style conscious, gifting, aesthetic buyers. So they're not as price conscious. They'll just buy instead of sending an offer. Like they're not as quote unquote cheap as eBay buyers. Search focus, SKU heavy, product ID, brand driven eBay. Etsy is title driven, handcrafted, vintage driven. eBay, they use keywords too. Both use keywords, but it's just a little bit different. For sellers, eBay, is ideal for large base collectors. Both do really well for that. Side photos, historical items, easy for eBay. Is limited, if not artistic and vintage, and it has to be over 20 years old. Handcraft items, it's not really a primary focus on eBay at all. I mean, you can, but it's probably not the best place for it. It's a core category on Etsy. Military history, legal theory, strong niche market on eBay. Very limited search interest on Etsy. Metaphysical books, popular among collectors, same thing on Etsy. So there is some overlap and there are some differences. Some cons, fee complexity on eBay can get pricey with promotions and store subscriptions. It can be very competitive and price sensitive. Policies a little bit extra, a little bit more restrictive. Etsy, if you use ads, it could be different, but if you don't use any ads, the fees are really favorable. Not ideal for general collectibles or modern goods. So that's why I'm not just putting my whole inventory on there. It doesn't make sense. I'm just going to curate my art books and catalogs. And there's frequency rule changes and stuff, but it's not as strict as eBay. And so just for some gematria to finish off this slide, Rare Books USA, Etsy art books, we have 333 reverse ordinal and 153 reverse reduction. So you have that 333, 153 in the reverse. So we'll see how that plays out for us, right? And then RT Books is a great Etsy niche, 333 English ordinal and 117 in reduction. So we do have some strong gematria connections. I'm gonna test it out. I have no sales on eBay yet, but that's fine. I do believe they're going to be coming in. It's a little bit more of a slower tail, longer tail on Etsy, and I'm still growing. I only have like 25 listings, so we're getting there. And so I guess to sum it up, is Etsy a good place for booksellers? I've seen big accounts on Etsy. They sell books. They have thousands of books sold. So I think it is a good place if you are willing to niche. There's already a lot of general vintage booksellers on Etsy. And so I'm trying to separate myself from them. Art books, art catalogs, vintage, crafty, artsy, very, very niche type thing. So we'll come back to this later in the year to see if it turns out well for myself.